You're listening to the Dead Presidents Podcast.
And this is another exciting installment of
Presidential War. What is it good for? Intellectual stimulation. Say it again now. Presidential War. What is it good for? Presidential.
Welcome to Presidential War. I am James J. Hamilton.
I'm Stephen Lincoln Douglas.
We're here with a very special guest,
The illustrious
Dave Ranallo.
Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for noticing my luster.
Indeed. Dave is a presidential aficionado, a listener of the show.
I may be compiling a spreadsheet. I may not be. But why would I bring it up if I wasn't?
Just to throw Stephen Lincoln Douglas off his game.
That could be.
That's right.
Diversion.
I've already won the psychological war.
Diversionary tactics.
Yeah.
Dave, also a veteran of President's Day roasts at the Arcade Comedy Theater with myself, and Stephen Lincoln Douglas was in one as a special John Hinckley appearance at the end. And now we've got our own show.
Which is about to begin.
Yep, I will be the moderator for this game, and the cards have been dealt and shuffled.
Dealt, and ready for action.
Well, whenever you guys are ready, you can flip your first cards.
We're going to reveal Martin Van Buren.
I have drawn Woodrow Wilson.
They're going head-to-head in the category pre-presidential accomplishments.
Well, MVB got quite a lot going for him in terms of pre-presidential accomplishments. Pretty much created the Democratic Party. He's a career politician, held quite a bit of different offices. Senator, Secretary of State, Vice President. Yeah. Quite a lot going on.
Was he an academic at Princeton?
He
and
was
not a particularly good one?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Wilson, what he has going for him is he was a historian, but we shouldn't fail to mention that he was a bad historian.
I've always kind of been fascinated how Wilson got to the presidency, given his qualifications, because I don't necessarily think he was a terrible president, but he doesn't have the pedigree of like, oh yeah, naturally that person's going to go on to be the leader of what will eventually be the free world.
Right. He was hop, skip, jump,
and boom,
to the White House.
And then a stroke.
Right.
Democrats must have had a short bench at that time.
That is accurate.
They were pretty desperate. Nobody but Cleveland had won since before the Civil War for them.
Yeah.
I want to make a strong case for Wilson, but I can't.
Right.
He was also governor of New Jersey,
that
right?
Was his hop, skip, jump was academic to governor of New Jersey to president of the United States, which is pretty swift rise.
Yeah. Well, MVB pretty strong pre-presidentially.
Yeah.
Not so much during his presidency.
Oh, no, certainly. But that's not the category.
Yeah.
We have to play the hand we're dealt.
That's it.
Well, this would probably be one of MVB's stronger categories. He's probably going to take this hand.
Next up, we got Harry S. Truman
versus James A. Garfield, one of the only presidents who had a cat named after him.
Yeah.
Nice. They're
shot probably on a Monday.
Their category, effect on the office of the presidency.
Well, sadly, Garfield is not the first president to be assassinated, so we can't even argue that the death of a sitting president by an assassin's bullet completely changed the way we understand things.
I really like Garfield. I oftentimes make a case for him. I think he was like the biggest missed opportunity in terms of a failed president, but Harry Truman had a pretty good effect on the office of the presidency, I would argue. I mean, his decision to utilize the atom bomb. And his idea after that was, well, we could harness this technology to power the world. You know, it didn't really come to pass, but I don't know, that was a tough call. And of course, you know, he's in there and it's like, all right, well, let's get the 22nd Amendment in here so that this, you know,
no one has to ascend
till you die thing doesn't
no one has
again.
to ascend to the presidency without knowing anything that their predecessor was doing. That's another extraordinarily important aspect of Truman's presidency.
He's completely in the dark, and it's like, hey, here's what's going on.
Wait, what?
Holy shit.
Yalta?
There was also a landmark Supreme Court case about presidential powers based on Truman when... I forget the details. Something he ordered to do with like a strike, and he ordered
in Korea?
No, in the United States, like a steel strike, maybe steel workers strike.
Oh, I was thinking like an air strike or something.
And he like kind of like tried to order them to continue. Anyway, the case is about like presidential power. There's like 3 tiers of deciding whether the president has exceeded his power. He has the most power when he acts with congressional authorization, the least when he's acting against direct congressional wishes, and then like in the middle when Congress has been silent. So I think what Truman did there was struck down in that case, but that affects presidential power.
In terms of popular culture, Harry Truman, opening line of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. James Garfield, inspiration for the Sondheim musical Assassins.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Nice.
Pretty powerful effects on the perception of the office of the presidency in the public's mind, according to theater people.
Yeah.
Well,
the seizure of steel mills here, I had to look that up. Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company versus Sawyer. And the Supreme Court declared that Truman had exceeded his constitutional authority. Lasting effect, he had the creation of Israel under Truman, so there's that, you know. That was a nice, peaceful...
Not necessarily on the effect on the presidency, but yes, very influential and important development. Second most important moment of the 20th century after World War II, I assume. I mean, it certainly...
Pretty big deal.
It's not like it went away in the last...
Creating a problem for all future presidents to deal with. Well, Truman responsible for the precedent of the buck stops here.
Also true.
All subsequent presidents, the buck stops with them because of Truman.
Yeah. How are we rolling here, moderator?
Well, I think I probably got to go with Truman here.
I don't like it, but I assent.
Yeah.
Garfield wasn't around long enough to have a big enough effect.
That's it. Next up, you got Thomas Jefferson.
Ooh, against Theodore Roosevelt.
Uh-oh, 2 of Rushmore's Titans going head-to-head here.
Their category, biggest partier.
Ooh. I guess it's going to depend on how we mean party. Because if it's wrestling people to the ground to stay healthy, if it's going on safari, if it's going out in the world and having a good old time.
That's it. And even in
not
his early
Jefferson
days, when he was palling around with Grover Cleveland, they were known as a duo. Heavy eating, heavy drinking, having a good time on the town. TJ, Francophile, he knows how to have a good time.
He's a big dinner partier.
Yeah. What's the... Was that Kennedy's quote about the assembled intelligentsia around the table was second only to when Jefferson dined alone?
Yeah.
While that sounds like a great quote, that sounds like a guy who is drinking wine by himself.
Yeah.
Not my definition of a partier.
Well,
respect for TJ. Did a lot of stuff. As a president... Pre-presidential is obviously the category you want for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jefferson, I mean, he really knew his wines, but
Yeah, he was obsessed with wines.
He is kind of not like an outgoing personality. You know what I mean?
Not a character in The Alienist, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. He'd rather stay at home with Sally and have a quiet evening.
Yeah.
No?
I think I don't know. He'd probably do it up at a dinner party, but I don't think he'd...
He just doesn't strike me.
Yeah,
as
but if we're going to compare dinner parties, are we saying that Roosevelt never had formal receptions? I think that Roosevelt was equally comfortable in a diplomatic dinner party as he would be,
He was far more boisterous, too.
Yes.
I don't think Teddy Roosevelt really, drank much, though, but guess you don't really have to party.
No, that's true.
He'd probably be, more fun to party with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jefferson would be like a quiet intellectual conversation over, a really good wine.
He'd want to talk about the Bible that he wrote.
Yeah, which is
good. It's very, very short.
I think it's an impressive undertaking.
I agree.
Could invite TR to your Festivus party and have him do the feats of strength.
Yeah? I don't know. I'm leaning towards TR in this one.
That's where my heart is.
I agree with that.
He's more likely to have a bibulous night on the town than old TJ, who's kind of an introvert.
Yeah, I'll give it to TR.
Coming up next, I've drawn Big Bill McKinley.
Ooh, versus George Herbert Walker Bush.
Their category, First Lady Looks.
So of these two First Ladies, which will be crowned Queen Pretty? Old Ida McKinley and old Barbara Bush. Old Babs. She was a looker in her day, really.
Indeed.
When you think of her as First Lady,
she has a more grandmotherly...
classic grandmotherly image. Ida McKinley, always pretty sickly, frail. Yeah. Not that she was bad looking. She was an attractive girl. Just not out and about as much. She'd have seizures and whatnot. There's actually stories of them at dinner receptions where she would start having a seizure, and he would just put a handkerchief over her and
like a canary to pretend that she was.
Yeah, it's
she should go to sleep.
Time to go to sleep. Yeah.
Fun fact that might need to get cut out.
Yeah.
My cousin used to be in the Secret Service and was on the Bush Protection Agency.
Really?
He used to protect the Bushes up at Kennebunkport. He had to get a boating license because George liked to go out on the Cape.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
My sister got an autographed photograph of George Bush, but her name was spelled wrong.
Aww.
My sister's name is Lara, Lara.
Yeah.
He added a U. We never forgave him.
Yeah.
We didn't vote for him for that second term because of that U. Back before I was registered to vote.
He was probably just immediately thought Otto Preminger film. Maybe.
Here's I'm looking at young Barbara Bush.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right
she's a looker.
Yeah.
Let's take all of her accomplishments, boil it down to looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and completely
Barbara Bush.
We got the First Lady accomplishments category.
We do.
This category just about objectifying women.
Yeah.
There's Ida McKinley.
Yeah.
We objectify the men as well.
Oh, I can't wait to objectify the men.
That's much more fun. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Barbara Bush here.
I'm also in favor of that.
That's my personal.
Yeah, as long as we're allowed, we can take into consideration her pre-First Lady days. I'd go with her also.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I'm not, disregarding Ida McKinley young. There's a really fetching portrait of her at the McKinley Museum from when she was young.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a pretty good portrait. Moving on. I got Lyndon Baines Johnson
versus Andrew Jackson.
They're going head-to-head in relationship with the people.
Ooh.
Well,
they didn't chant, hey, hey, Andy J, how many babies did you kill today?
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
How many Native Americans did you kill
well,
today?
They,
is more like it. But
people were
they just weren't
people
were in favor of that.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I wouldn't argue.
With the people doesn't mean that the people are correct.
Right. I'm not going to argue this. I think Andrew Jackson was far more popular with the people. I think he was like the common man candidate for the first time, you know, even though he wasn't
First
exactly a common man,
non-aristocratic president.
yeah. He was big with the people. The People's Inaugural, where he's nearly crushed to death.
Yeah, they mobbed
You
the
know,
White House, destroyed thousands
all
of
kinds
dollars
of
worth
shit
of
gets
rugs and furniture.
Busted up, and things are stolen. There's pickpockets everywhere, and it's a nightmare. But it didn't diminish his look
Yeah, and
with
all
the people.
Yeah, a bunch of things he did, he got away with because he had the people on his side. He'll like veto the bank. The opposition expected.
I will kill it.
Expected the people.
Yeah, that's the thing you want the president to say, and people are like, "Yeah,
that sounds
you
good.
kill it." I
Yeah.
agree with that. I don't understand 19th century finance. I am a dumb person.
Yeah.
I don't know who that character was, but he was a dumb person.
Yeah, just
Self-avowed. He
dumb
said it himself.
American.
Mm-hmm.
But with Johnson, he was, I don't know, following Kennedy, he was never going to be, and following Kennedy the way he did,
Yeah.
he just never got embraced by the people.
I remember having a conversation once wherein I explained that Johnson was a Democrat, and the person I said that to was aghast. They're like, "Wait, what? I thought that, like, didn't the hippies just hate the Republicans?" I was like, no, they hated the war. And who was the guy
Yeah.
at the top? A Democrat by the name of Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Johnson got some pain.
yeah.
I mean, that's...
Did accomplish quite a lot of things, but again, in terms of, I mean, we're looking at the Civil Rights Act, that's fantastic, and I think that after the presidency, there's probably more support
Yeah.
from the people for what he tried to accomplish and what he did accomplish. But that's, I mean, we're not doing ex post facto on this, are we?
No, not really.
I feel like that's adding modernism to a historical perspective. We have to look at Johnson and his time and era.
Well, I was going to say that I think Johnson might be the first president that I've heard, like, a popular musician rip on in a contemporary song. On Frank Zappa's Freak Out record,
Oh, yeah.
they rip on the Great Society and
Yeah.
all that, you know, plastic people and all this stuff. I mean, yeah. Zappa was, of course, like, a vocal conservative, but, you know,
Well, yeah.
you wouldn't have thought that looking at him.
No, certainly not.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think Johnson even has a chance in this instance.
No, Andy Jackson, the people's president.
$20 bill beats civil rights. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I'll take it any way I can get it.
Yeah. Next up, I got William Jefferson Blythe.
Versus Barack Obama.
They're going head-to-head in military accomplishments.
Wow. Refresher course here. We lived through both of these guys.
Well, neither had any military
Kosovo was
career
going
as a...
on with
Yeah.
Clinton. You had Slobodan Milosevic and all
we had
that. Nah.
The Balkan Wars.
Mm-hmm. So there were some things going on.
But there wasn't. It wasn't direct military intervention. We just did
No.
He ordered a couple of strikes, if I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
Yeah,
all
I
that
think there were
amounted
some
to.
strikes
I
against
think-
Iraq. There might have even been some against, the desert that Osama bin Laden was hiding out in.
There were definitely some strikes against Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
I think though, and I'm not. This might be splitting hairs, but I think Obama qualifies as a war president, given. And I've forgotten the name of what's the Afghani campaign called? I know it's Iraqi freedom in Iraq, but what colorful name did we give to the military action in Afghanistan?
One was Enduring Freedom.
Is that what that one was?
Oh, God.
Oh,
I had
maybe.
forgotten that. That's
we have
funny.
such clever names for murdering people.
Well, yeah,
Well,
he
it's
was
technically not murder.
he was in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya,
Yeah.
and killing Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously we're not going to talk about personal military achievements. These
No,
guys,
we can't.
Neither one had them. Yeah, I don't know. I'd lean towards more. There's more going on with Obama here.
Yeah. And not to glorify anything, but
Yeah.
taking out bin Laden was, I think, the most significant military achievement since World War II, because we haven't had if you look at Korea, if you look at Vietnam, those were long, drawn-out conflicts. There was no real clear winner. The United States left.
That's one of the.
This is one where we actually accomplished the goal.
We killed the confirmed leader.
Right.
We didn't have that luxury with.
And not to
many others.
You can get into the amorphous war on terror, which is, of course, okay, that's a fun concept, but how do you have smart goals on that? Are they specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely? No, I don't think so. But if you look at specifically Al-Qaeda, a lot was begun, I'll give credit, during the Bush administration, but completed during the Obama administration. And given the changing nature of modern warfare, again, not something I'm thrilled to win a hand by, but if this is how I win, I'm okay with that.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think the killing of bin Laden was the best, single day of military accomplishments.
Sure.
Bill Clinton doesn't have anything to compete with that.
No.
So, Obama was going to take that hand.
That's it. Moving right along, I have drawn Franklin Pierce. Please be looks.
Versus Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Category, who would you pick first in flag football?
Oh. That's actually that might be a good one.
Is Pierce drunk? I just realized I'm talking about Nixon. Are we talking like the waning years when Nixon was always drunk?
Yeah. I think
maybe to level the playing field, we should agree that they're both blitzed out of their mind while playing.
That we could just assume that they're going to be drunk.
That's fair. Okay, so let's take that out of.
But we could say they're in their prime. I mean, Nixon played football. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive I've seen photos of a young Nixon, like, in his uniform. And Franklin Pierce, as our listeners are going to learn in episode 14, literally would surprise roommates with the feats of strength. His messmates would come back, and all of a sudden he would just leap out of nowhere and throw you onto the bed.
Is the Don Parmesan of his day.
Not let you get up. Like, he's just... Yeah,
Gene Parmesan.
The feats of strength going on with Franklin Pierce.
Yeah,
he was in pretty good shape, from what his contemporaries said, and
seems wily. He might be one of those guys. You give him the ball, and he's gonna.
I think he's
deke and dodge, and they're not gonna grab those
legs. He's going to be a little more elusive than I think Nixon.
Nixon would probably lumber on the field a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't
looked
know.
it up. Nixon. He was on the football team at Whittier College, but it seems like he may have never actually played. He was a reserve tackle.
Awesome.
But he was a tackle.
Yeah.
I
was going to try and make like a water boy joke.
Yeah.
But
tell him the other team are communists. And flip out.
Imagining Nixon in that role. But,
he would not be on the red team if that was how they were assigning out the flags.
Yeah, Pierce had military service.
I could foresee this going to a draw.
Yeah, Pierce, he kept getting injured in all the battles in the Mexican-American War. Yeah. I think he would, pull a hammy and dragging himself across the field.
He could be like that, hey, we drafted this guy, he's going to be great, and then he gets hurt in the first game and he's out for 7 or 8
Not
games.
To mention, if we're going to talk about inebriation, Nixon, who was sloshed the entire last couple of years of his presidency, still managed to run the country.
Yeah.
Not maybe the best to his abilities, but still managed to do it.
Yeah.
Pierce didn't get another opportunity because of his reputation and, all kinds of politics that were going on at the time. But again, Pierce's drinking, I think, more severely impacted him as president than Nixon. Nixon only drank because he knew that the walls were closing in.
Well, he's overly paranoid.
I don't understand what's going on. Oh, I was the first to do an impression, wasn't I?
Yeah,
that bear was broken.
That was a good Nixon.
Cool.
That was a good Nixon. Yeah, that's a tough one.
I'd like to order some Hager slacks. That's Nixon doing an impression of Johnson, by the way. Several layers deep.
Nice.
I don't know. It's flag football. I picture they're both drunk. One of them has the ball and is running with it, and the other one tries to go for the flag and falls on his face.
That would be Pierce, because he's a stumble bum filled with shrapnel. Yep. That's my argument.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
No, I'm ready to turn it over to the moderator.
I don't know. I think I might pick Nixon. I think he might have more of like a killer instinct.
I'm not going to dispute it.
Pierce, maybe too nice of a guy.
Well,
If it was tackle, I'd probably go with Pierce, but
Fair point.
Yeah,
flag football, I'll take Nixon.
very well. Next up, we've got Herbert Hoover.
Versus Benjamin Harrison.
Their category, foreign policy.
Oh.
Well, this is kind of an awkward one because there's not a whole heck of a lot going on with either of them.
No, I'm trying to think. Gilded Age. So we're just before American imperialism kicks in. So it's Harrison and Cleveland. I'm still thinking of being more focused on domestic issues. I'm going to turn to my picture book, the complete book of U.S. presidents updated for 2021,
Nice.
with color photographs for children.
That's a pretty awesome book.
Yeah, that's a totally different publication with the same
The
name
exact same name.
as
That's
our
awesome.
complete book of
It
U.S.
was very
presidents.
cheap, and I figured this would make a nice gift for my nieces.
Cool.
Excellent.
Also, it already has the current president in it, which I think is a bit presumptive.
Well,
Although I guess I should look and see what they say about Harrison.
from looking here, pretty much Hoover's all domestic. Foreign policy-wise, you have the Hawley Smoot tariff, but that's not really...
Well, yeah, the tariffs are that weird
It's kind of-
because they straddle the line between
Right.
the two.
London Naval Treaty of 1930 revised the Washington Conference Agreement of 1922, done under Warren Harding. And this permitted Japan to increase its fleet relative to that of the United States and Great Britain. That would turn out great.
Harrison also had a tariff, the McKinley tariff.
Yeah, this London
A
Naval
severely
Treaty, this starts an
protectionist
arms race
tariff.
that leads to World War II. So I think Hoover's only foreign policy bit is a thumbs down.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a naval thing.
Mhm.
I don't think a naval arms race led to World War II.
Well, no.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of factors, obviously. World War II began
It
in
con-
Manchuria,
it
according to
contributed
some
to it.
historians,
Hmm.
or Manchukuo, as it was called by the Japanese.
Yeah. Well, I mean, an arms race and a competition between the United States, Japan, and Great Britain to increase their navies. I mean,
Mm,
I would
well,
argue that that's a contributing factor.
well, we also won that naval war, so maybe it
true.
contributed to that.
Notice how I haven't put forth anything for Harrison.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't
it's a tough
see-
one. I
It's
don't
a tough
think
one. I
there
don't
is
think there's
anything.
much.
And with Hoover, like, I don't know that this was just allowing Japan to catch up to us. It wasn't an increased thing on our part,
Yeah,
you know. So maybe that's not so good.
I don't know. There's not a lot listed under Harrison here. Under his Secretary of State, it says they tacitly endorsed an American-led coup against the Queen of Hawaii and negotiated a treaty of annexation, which was later withdrawn. And there were reciprocity tariff agreements in Latin America. Yeah, neither of these guys big foreign policy presidents.
I don't know. I
I'm
feel
thinking a draw.
Yeah, I was going to say I lean towards declaring a draw on this one.
Alrighty.
We'll
Yeah.
go
Let's see what we take
to
next.
sudden death.
We got Jerry Ford.
Versus John Adams.
Who would win in a fight?
Oh, crap. Well, his rotundity is unfortunately at a distinct disadvantage
Yeah,
here.
I think
I was
he's-
preparing for a lot of John Adams love, and then it turns out, no.
Yeah, I think if these two were to have a brawl, Ford would stomp the shit out of John Adams.
Yeah. Like, I feel it's one of those situations where if Adams went to defend himself, threw his hands up, and accidentally poked Jerry Ford in the eye, and then Ford stumbled and fell out a window,
Yeah.
then So this is the Saturday Night Live fight. That's the only way Adams comes out on top.
Yeah,
the fight is at the top of
on the show,
of course,
to like reprise his role.
If they fight at the top of the stairs of Air Force One.
Yeah, and Adams got a shot.
Like a ladder match.
Can we have Paul Giamatti fight Chevy Chase in character as the president? I just want someone to beat the shit out of Chevy Chase. That's just my opinion.
I think Bill Murray did.
Yeah.
So,
he did. What was that?
that was
Was that the three? Was that the Three Amigos?
I think it was on SNL.
Yeah.
I can't even remember. Maybe it was something.
Because
with Three Amigos.
Murray replaced Chase, so
Yeah.
Chase had to come back for something.
Yeah. I think it was
Cornelius Chase. What a name! Now that sounds like the name of a president.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting this one. Adams loses.
Yeah, I think this is a Ford Vic.
Definitely. Ford, the number one most athletic president.
And recently voted best beach bod for a president that served less than 1,000 days.
That's right.
That's official.
Number 2.
He won that hand.
Well-preserved corpse of Zachary Taylor. A tweet that was liked by, I don't think you'll believe this, Zachary Taylor.
Yeah, I saw
What?
that.
Where'd he come from?
I don't know.
How those cherries, Zach.
Yeah.
Isn't that it was the rumor, I think, wasn't it, that cherries were poisoned or that they were spoiled?
Yeah.
And then
Trying to remember
cholera.
Yeah.
Example.
Next up, I've got Dwight David Eisenhower.
Versus John Quincy Adams.
Relationship with the Constitution.
Ooh.
I'm just immediately leaning towards JQA.
Yeah, I'm trying to... not to do any disservice to Eisenhower, but he was the CEO president. He was very laissez-faire. He trusted the people that he put in charge to kind of just, let the country do its thing.
Yeah, and he had been like apolitical. I mean, he was courted by both parties, and
Yes.
I'm sure he fully grasped what the Constitution meant.
And as a
And all
war
that, I'm not gonna
hero,
argue
that was his...
JQA came
That's all
up
he had to
during
go
it.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's...
And having all the different positions in the government that Adams held, I think each of them had a different... there's a distinct aspect of the Constitution depending on, okay, which secretaryship am I holding today? Oh, okay. This is what I'm allowed to do.
I feel like JQA could go toe-to-toe with any president on the subject of the Constitution and take 99% of them to school.
Yeah. He declined a nomination to the Supreme Court at one point.
Yeah, I feel like that's
big on the First Amendment when he was in the House, fighting the gag rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say this is a pretty clear-cut victory for JQA.
He was never a senator, though, so I think he held pretty
Yeah,
much every other...
He
with
was
the exception of the judiciary.
he was a senator. Yeah, he was a senator while Jefferson was president.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, he's a man.
He
did
nearly all elected offices.
Yeah, House,
excepting
Senate.
judiciary.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty clear-cut vic for JQA.
Yeah, JQA will take that hand.
I like Ike,
I
but I like JQA a little more.
That's it. I'm not going to knock Eisenhower's, constitutional knowledge, but I just don't think it would hold a candle to JQA's. Next up, we've got first term Grover Cleveland.
Ooh. That's up against Chester A. Arthur.
Their category is looks.
Okay, so...
I feel like facial hair is going to be a factor here. Do you like the mutton chops?
Chester Arthur's a snazzy guy.
Like
He's pretty stylish. He's definitely the
Best dressed?
dressed president, hands down.
I think I agree. But are we stripping away the clothes to look at the man, or are we looking at the whole package? I don't think Arthur's an unattractive man.
I haven't seen so many photos of Chester Arthur younger. I don't think there is a picture of him without his infamous facial hair. There might be one. but I'm not sure.
And there's a part of me...
somebody else. I might be thinking of Garfield.
So part of me is a larger gentleman as well that wants to not, body shame, but Grover Cleveland, the more attractive of the two famously large presidents, I'd put him over Howard Taft.
Yeah.
William Howard Taft myself. But
yeah, he's a distinguished-looking guy.
That being said, not that Arthur's a small guy either, but
no, he's one of the.
We got to get our love for our daddy presidents.
Yeah, I think I'd go Arthur here.
Here's a young Arthur. There's one picture of him without a mustache.
The mustache is a good choice.
Yeah, that is a good choice.
Yeah.
Given the lack thereof.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd go Arthur here.
You agree with that?
I'm agreeing
Dave?
with Arthur.
Yeah, I think Arthur. I'd much rather be seen with Arthur. You know what I mean?
agree with
Because
that.
it's like this guy's he's decked out.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his fancy pants on and all kinds of stuff from Tiffany's and whatnot. It's a good look. If you were looking for a sugar daddy president, you need not look
could
further.
do worse.
Yeah,
a whole lot worse.
that's right. Yeah, you could look to Chad Arthur to take care of you in that sense. So I think this is an Arthur hand.
Sounds good to me.
Objectified presidency, yeah.
We should just do like objectification versions. It's like the whole game is just first.
Yeah, who
lady
cares
looks,
about an Arthur's
just
redemption
presidential
story? Who cares that he ascended the presidency? The dude looked good.
look. I don't care
Okay?
about his
He looked
foreign policy.
Good.
Next up, we have Hiram Ulysses Grant.
Versus James Earl Carter Jr.
The economy.
Oh, crap.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Ooh.
Jimmy Carter, I think, tops on the list of best human beings to be a president.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah,
what a nice guy.
Yeah, we've
what
said
a
it before.
nice human being.
Continually find ourselves saying
The
it,
only president that I think is definitely going to his reward in the afterlife, guaranteed.
Yeah, I think I
But
would agree
you
with that.
turned over the economy,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
Not
I
his
different
struggle.
am
story.
at a loss.
Yeah, things were not looking great at home.
Gas lines.
Yeah.
Is
A
right
lot of
there.
small businesses
And
going under.
And I don't want to even. I mean, the unfair burden of the economy is that when it does badly, the president gets unduly criticized.
Sure.
When it does well, the president gets unduly praised.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I don't think you can point to anything Carter did during his term that helped to turn anything around.
No, I feel like he was too focused overseas.
Yeah, he had a foreign policy
yeah.
focus, which was definitely admirable,
Yeah.
but not necessarily
Logical?
sustainable.
Yeah, well,
like
that's a better word,
again, we mentioned that when we mentioned Israel earlier. It's a thorn that's going to be in the side of every president until there's a solution.
Yeah.
When we are long dead,
Right.
when the 14th generation of podcast listeners hear this episode, they'll be like, Israel. Yeah, that's still a problem now.
Yeah.
During Grant's term, we had the Panic of
Yeah, I'm going to
1873.
get to Grant's. There was a panic in there.
5-year depression,
Not too great.
caused in part by a European stock market crash the year before.
Yeah. You got Reconstruction going on.
Yeah.
The country's.
But you got
hurting
8 years
pretty
of
bad.
Grant at least. So
Yeah,
even,
that's true.
Not saying it was perfect, but I think that of his 8 years, the 3 that were good are probably still economically superior to Carter's.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm trying to think of when everything really went south for Carter. Was that 77? 78? Like, I feel like 76 was... Or no, he was president in 77.
Yeah.
He won the 76
Yeah, I
election.
think like 77.
So 78.
Yeah.
A lot of good movies came out during Carter's presidency.
Yeah, we
Can't say the same about Grant.
When not a single film
Yeah, not a single film.
came
How
out during
ridiculous
Grant's
is that?
presidency.
No.
Ulysses S. What does the S stand for? Oh, Nothing.
Shit.
Whoa. Whoa. Won the Civil War, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
Nah, that was a cruel
No,
joke. But I don't
I'm
know.
also seeing Grant had the Resumption of Specie Act in 1875 for gold reserves, which, according to the Complete Book of U.S. Presidents, strengthened public confidence in the currency.
Yeah, and I mean, I was not necessarily the people, but the country elected to stay Republican after Grant. You know, Hayes didn't get the popular vote, but
yeah, Carter wasn't really conveying a lot of confidence.
No, well, yeah, I mean, Carter had two very, very unique elections, obviously going against Ford, who was never elected vice president or president, versus Carter, who, when looking back at the 76 election, a lot of the way that Carter presented himself, not that dissimilar to the way that Obama presented himself.
Yeah, that's
was
true.
Really surprised. I went back and watched some old Saturday Night Lives, and the way they were making fun of Carter was not dissimilar to the way they were making fun. Hope and change. Oh yeah, right, Jimmy Carter, right.
Yeah.
And then of course getting absolutely gobsmacked by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Not on the economy specifically, but that was certainly a very big plank in Reagan's campaign. And again, books and books and books have been written about Reagan's economic policy. In fact, Reaganomics being a term, I think it's clear that his successor was definitely more focused on economic, on the economy in a way that proves that Carter just not his strong suit, not his
Well,
forte.
you have a guy that gives the malaise speech, and then you have a guy that says it's morning again in America.
Yeah.
You know, who are the people going to put their trust in? But
the beginning of every Ronald Reagan impression. Well, it's morning.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one, but I think.
I mean, I guess at this point, can we argue for a draw, or is there a clear winner in Grant?
I don't know that there's a clear winner, but I think the economy was probably. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it would have been a little bit better under Grant.
Yeah, I think I'd probably give it to Grant.
Concur.
Next up, I've drawn William Henry Harrison
versus George Washington.
Oh, boy.
Well, category best president overall.
Well, it was a fair fight, but I have to give it to you. I'm sorry. William Henry Harrison, best president because he died before he could do anything wrong. No, that's not true. That's not even remotely true.
Fewest mistakes.
No.
The least mistakes of any president. He was out doing his own grocery shopping like a boss.
That's right.
It got him killed, but...
Also,
address
better
long.
political song about William Henry Harrison than George Washington. Until that one from a couple of years ago about Washington having multiple penises. I can't remember the name of that band or that song.
Wow, I'm not familiar with that.
It's one to look up, kids. You tiny little school children listening to this for edification.
William Henry.
There's a song about George Washington defeating the redcoats with laser eyes on the YouTubes.
Nice.
And William Henry Harrison, just the one penis.
That's right. Only one.
Yeah, only one penis.
Only one.
Like, how could he possibly win?
I don't think.
I would say it was a lot later in life that I think really came to appreciate how good Washington was. Growing up, it was like, oh yeah, Washington's always listed among the top 3 presidents of all time. And I'm like, okay, why? What did he do? What did he really do? What really did he do? Why is he so great? Same question I had about why was he such a good general. And it wasn't, I think, until I was a lot older and had a lot more understanding of nuance that the way he approached everything was not just looking at stuff like a chess match where you had to step back and see the whole board. He saw all the boards.
Right.
How do you defeat the British Empire in a war? Oh, by constantly fighting them. You're not looking for individual victories. Yeah. You're looking to constantly harass them. A lot of that, I think, goes into the way that he approached the presidency, which is everything I do is going to set a precedent. And I need to make sure that everything I do for future generations is going to work out. And then the Jay Treaty. But whatever. It's really hard to fight against him as being
that's a clear.
if not number one best president of all time.
Yeah.
his 2. His worst place is 2 on that list.
It's pretty much on universally. It's Washington and Lincoln.
Yeah, you're going to need Lincoln if you want a chance.
Yeah.
It's Washington in this
I
category.
mean, even I guess FDR is probably the one nipping at his heels.
3.
Even then, it's a harder fight.
Mm-hmm.
But
yep, this is a clear.
Sorry, Tippecanoe.
Clear cut Vic for GW. Next up, I've drawn John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
And I'm not going to speak, for I have drawn Silent Calvin Coolidge.
Category, speeches and writings.
Well, I like Coolidge a lot. I think he's one of my favorite Republican presidents, but I don't think that he's going to be able to stand up to, we are going to go to the moon and do the other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the change in the media landscape certainly favored Kennedy.
Yeah.
But
yep, you have the
even
first,
that being said,
the first presidential sound film is with Coolidge.
Yeah.
So he comes in at the infancy. But yeah, Kennedy, obviously, a media darling for the most part. And
people are still making jokes about being a jelly donut.
Jelly donut, yeah.
Mm.
Which by the way, not a thing, not a true.
But he did.
have German.
He did have some good speeches, and he delivered them effectively.
Yeah, and he knew how to use the media to enhance that. Oh, I'm going to stand in front of the Brandenburg Gate when I say this. It's going to look amazing.
Yeah. There and with Coolidge, I mean, some of his writings and stuff, and some of his speeches they're terse, but they're good.
I think he would have a much better shot against. I think he beats better than 50% of the presidents.
Yeah,
but yeah, Kennedy's in
Kennedy.
the top percentile of memorable writings and speeches. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Coolidge, he wrote an autobiography. Kennedy, his book, Profiles in Courage.
Profiles in Courage, right, yeah.
That won...
Pulitzer?
I think it might have been the Pulitzer. It was some major award.
Pulitzer.
Kennedy did win a Nobel Prize, didn't he? He's one of
I don't think so. Because when Obama won it, they were like, what other presidents won? Teddy Roosevelt.
Right.
I don't think Kennedy was in there.
Well, that was just the Peace Prize, right?
Yeah.
Not that John F. Kennedy was going to win the Nobel Prize for physics.
Yeah.
Because he was always on his back.
Yeah.
Wink.
He'll win the Nobel Prize for philandering.
Yeah.
Yeah, why did Alfred Nobel establish that category? I think he was just jealous.
Kennedy will win the Nobel Peace of Ass Prize.
Yeah, there you go. Now must
score.
That's what I was thinking of.
What's that?
That's what I was thinking of, certainly.
Oh.
When I made that
crack.
And this going to JFK?
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, next up. We got Millard Fillmore
versus James Madison.
Category, First Lady Accomplishment.
Ooh. Dolley Madison saved priceless art during the War of 1812.
Yeah, Dolley Madison I consider one of the best first ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
might argue her as the best first lady in this category. I mean, there are
Yeah.
other first ladies, you know, like Eleanor Roosevelt. A lot of first ladies did a lot of great things, but in terms of like how much Dolley helped Madison, is almost like unparalleled with the way she like.
And if you take
ran the social
anyone
scene.
like looking at more modern first ladies, like you can't even look at Hillary Clinton's accomplishments as first lady. She has them on her own as a politician, so that would discount. So yeah, I think Dolley's very high on the list.
Dolley Madison, Sarah Polk. I mean, you know, those are top tier. Poor Abigail Fillmore.
Not so much.
Well, she got funding for the first White House library.
That is true.
How many Abigails were first ladies? 3 or 4, right?
There's a few.
Abigail Adams, Abigail Fillmore. And, another one, I think, wasn't there? It's unimportant to this category.
Yeah. No, that was my opinion.
There were 6 Jameses as president, only 1 Millard.
It's true. Very true. Yeah. And I believe Jimmy Carter's the first president that we refer to by a nickname, but not a full name, I think. Not that, like, Abraham obviously shortened to Abe, but I've only ever seen Jimmy Carter listed as Jimmy Carter, not James Carter.
Yeah.
James Earl Carter. Unimportant to this category yet again.
I feel like this is
Actually, the placemat here that we're playing on calls him James.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's because the mic stand is covering his first name.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think this is an easy victory for Dolley Madison here.
Dolley will dominate this category.
Dolley would if she could. And she did. Also, Dolley Madison, delicious breakfast treats.
Next up, we got Warren Gamaliel Harding
versus Honest Abe himself, Abraham Lincoln.
Could be in trouble.
Strength of presidential appointments.
Oh, team of rivals.
Yeah,
there we go.
There's no question.
Sorry, Harding.
Yeah, Harding's appointments were bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had
Harding has a team of
shooting themselves because they had screwed up.
Right.
Yeah.
Not good. His appointments were
the
bad.
Corruption of the Harding administration, not
scandal,
necessarily Harding himself, but people he was surrounded with, not the top of the tier.
Yeah, he's among the worst in this category. Whereas Lincoln is Lincoln,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy victory for Abe.
Lincoln also got to get credit for, appointing like Grant to be in charge.
Right.
He got the general appointments as well.
And also, second to that, also getting rid of the people that weren't getting the job done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't tolerate fools.
Right. Goodbye, McClellan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're going to try to run for president later? No.
Good luck with that.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, that's an easy one for Abe.
Definitely.
Next we have second term Grover Cleveland
versus Zachary Taylor.
Category post-presidential accomplishments.
Well, poop.
I wish this was first term Cleveland, but I don't know if it matters against Zachary Taylor.
Doesn't matter against the dead guy.
Yeah.
Zachary Taylor post-presidentially was exhumed and
That's right.
tested
he was
for
exhumed in,
That's pretty cool.
91 or 92?
93, 94?
Something
90s.
Like that.
It was the
Early
90s. Early 90s.
He's
tested
exhumed
for
and
arsenic
very
levels.
well preserved.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to consider.
Yep.
And the fleeting hope that I can somehow win this hand on the exhumation of Zachary Taylor.
Well, yeah, and then
Considering he didn't
tested
exhume
him for-
himself, I don't think I'm going to win.
Less impressive that he didn't exhume himself.
Yeah.
But
Then he'd be the Solomon Grundy president, and we don't need that.
yeah, in that test they did, and now people still haven't let it rest. They still argue that the test was flawed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
In popular culture, Zachary Taylor's death much more has captured the public's imagination much more than his life and presidency.
Yeah,
All
Grover-
rough and ready.
Grover Cleveland, his post-presidency was spent in relatively quiet
Yeah, it was
retirement with his family.
Mostly uneventful, but it certainly beats a dead guy.
Yeah.
Because he actually had one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he actually
Cleveland.
did have a post-presidency.
Well, Taylor might beat Tyler, who joined the Confederacy.
You know what?
That's actually.
I guess I could argue that. Yeah, I could be behind that.
But
both elected Whigs died.
Yeah.
And relatively shortly after getting elected president.
Mm-hmm.
Wither the Whig Party, R.I.P.
Yeah, John Tyler also had a lot of children.
yeah,
It's true.
who all joined the Confederacy.
Yeah.
Well,
With a living grandchild today,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
everyone's favorite bit of presidential trivia.
Yeah.
well, Cleveland post-presidency, he was a lecturer at Princeton and was on the board of trustees. He bolted the Democratic Party in 1896, not supporting its nominee, William Jennings Bryan, because he opposed the free silver platform.
We don't talk nearly enough about William Jennings Bryan.
I think he's one that'll have his own
Fascinating
episode at some point.
Probably give Cleveland credit for supporting the gold standard over the silver standard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Unfortunately, Taylor, not a strong card in this
Nope.
hand.
Yup.
Moving right along. Reveals James Buchanan.
Versus Franklin D. Roosevelt. This is like the third time I have turned over a top 10 president against, a bottom 10 president.
Yeah.
I don't take that much glee, but I take a little glee.
Yeah.
Now let's find the one category where Buchanan can beat Roosevelt. I hope it's not walking around. I hope it's not being able to do calisthenics.
Yeah. Their category, fastest sprinter. No, their category is who would you most like to meet?
Oh, you know what? This is one of those rare occasions where I think I actually would prefer to meet Buchanan. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing.
Buchanan's been in this one before. I can't remember who he was up against last time.
I mean, the answer is Roosevelt, but here's my argument for Buchanan. It's twofold.
I think he'd be more interesting to meet.
As an out gay person, I would genuinely like to be like, come on, Jim.
What's up?
Tell me the truth. Come on. Be honest here.
Yeah.
I think that would be very interesting. Secondly, in a magical scenario where you could meet Buchanan, there are so many questions about
what were you thinking?
How abysmal his term was. Like, talking about causes of the Civil War, you can pin 15 to 16 of them squarely on Buchanan, and it would be fascinating to grill him.
Would.
But you're not guaranteed an answer to any of those questions.
No, he might just check his wristwatch and say he's got a split.
Like, yes, you've met me. I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go back to the ether.
Yeah.
Whereas the opportunity to meet FDR would be fascinating as well, just because, again, you can ask about Stalin. You can ask about Eleanor. You can ask about
Lucy Mercer.
Yeah.
You could. There would be probably a lot. I don't know that he would be the nicest president to meet. Probably condescend to you while talking through a cigarette holder.
Yeah, possibly.
But again, given the opportunity, I think there's probably a longer list of questions for FDR.
Yeah.
And getting your picture with FDR is much cooler than getting your photograph with dough-faced James Buchanan, who, again, let's objectify him for just a second, is a real dough-face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I think that argument of Buchanan being a fascinating person to meet, given how bad he was, I think that only works if you're talking against a middling president.
Yeah.
Like if it was Harding versus Buchanan, I would fight tooth and nail that Harding is not as interesting to meet as Buchanan, or like maybe
Harding might be fun
Pierce.
to hang out with.
Sure, he might
play some cards and drink,
But again, I'd want to look at someone
in terms of interest.
Right. I'd want to look at someone far down the line to really make that strong argument of sometimes talking to the worst presidents might be the most interesting thing. But it's Franklin.
He did have a really long career in politics.
Yeah.
He goes back to the, early 1830s anyway.
And even if you did find the truth out, our first gay president caused the Civil War, I don't need that.
Not a good look.
I don't need that during Pride Month.
No.
It's not a good look.
I don't.
The guy that tore the country apart. You don't want that.
Well, our previous presidential war episode was titled "Who Wants to Meet James Buchanan?"
That's right. That was last episode.
And he didn't win against Barack Obama.
Well, no. Why would he?
He's not going to win against FDR either.
Nope. Poor Buchanan.
Sorry that you are the worst president that there is, except maybe one very recent one that we'll have to talk about in 10 or 15 years.
The title of this episode could be "Nobody Wants to Meet James Buchanan."
Yeah.
Concur.
And next up, we've got George W. Bush
versus James Knox Polk.
Category least scandals.
Ooh. I think it's Polk.
I think it is too. And that's not to say that the Mexican-American War didn't cause some small amount of stink.
Yeah, Mr. Polk's War.
But nothing like George W. Bush.
The number of books written about the mismanagement of Operation Iraqi Freedom is enough, I think, to put this squarely in Polk's category.
Yeah.
Who was it Alberto Gonzalez that had a huge scandal as Attorney General? I'm trying to remember. There was the one of his appointments was extraordinarily ridiculous. On the other hand, this is also the president who tried to put his running mate on the Supreme Court in Harriet Miers, which was not the biggest scandal in the world, but I think representative of it was such a strange selection because no one was going to get behind that.
No.
So, again, not a scandal per se, but definitely, I think, reflective of what a lot of his political opponents thought was a lack of good judgment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, I mean, it is because of recency bias. I don't want to be too harsh on the Bush administration, but the joke during the time which we lived through was that it was Cheney running the show and Bush was just the figurehead, which is, I think, scandalous in and of itself in terms of the chief of state.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had Abu Ghraib.
Oh, there's also that.
Yeah. Detainee, enhanced interrogation.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Polk,
I mean... bringing up torture moderating.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, Polk, I mean, Sam Houston said that Polk was scandalously guilty of drinking too much water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not a partier, but that's...
And They Might Be Giants only wrote a song about one of these guys.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And it's a classic, so...
With a singing saw.
Yeah.
In the one recording, at least.
Gotta hand it to Polk here.
Yeah.
No doubt.
One and done. Young
Next
Hillary.
up, we got Johnny Ty
versus Rutherford B. Hayes.
Their category, domestic policy.
Well,
Well,
it's messy, too, because you've got Reconstruction ending with Hayes
yeah.
because of the bargain that he made in the most disputed presidential election in our history.
Yeah.
But that, I almost don't want to argue for that because that's sort of pre-presidential for him, really.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm trying to...
Yeah, I mean, Hayes signified, like, people of color being damned to years and years and years of Jim Crow.
Hard to believe we did that, America.
Yeah.
But
with Tyler, I mean, just the way he came into the presidency.
Well, it was the Southern Democrats who were like, we want to damn African Americans to a century of no rights, and the Republicans were finally like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. I think of Tyler more foreign policy than
I'd agree with
policy.
Well, he was vetoing the bank.
Yeah, I mean, so
he raised the tariff.
And just establishing the right of presidential succession is pretty important for the domesticity of the country.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think that's certainly more of a relationship to the Constitution argument.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong. It directly impacts domestic policy in... You know, it's not like the Secretary of State became the president, so...
Right. Let's see what's going on.
I'm going to look at my picture book.
Hayes
I will say, Hayes, one of the best presidential beards.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not helping me in
maybe,
this category.
Maybe number one. Hayes has...
Not presidential beard, James Buchanan. Oh. Was what? Is it William Rufus King?
Yeah.
William Rufus King technically would be the president's beard in that hilarious joke.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Hayes' administration had some civil service reform, barring federal employees from taking part in political activities.
Yeah, I give more credit to Garfield and Arthur on civil service reform.
Yeah, it says here Hayes was calling for more comprehensive civil service reform, but Congress didn't act during his term. He had the Resumption of Specie Act, a proponent of hard money.
And I think he
again, strengthening confidence in U.S. currency. Yeah.
He signed the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Oh, okay.
1879. So Hayes and Tyler, both racist.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we can say that of almost everyone
before
aren't
racist
today.
Yeah.
I'm not coming up with a strong Hayes argument.
Yeah, I mean...
Is this a draw?
Yeah, I could go with a draw on this.
Let's heighten the anticipation.
Yeah.
All right.
See what we got coming up here with James Monroe.
Versus Ronald Reagan.
Their category, relationship with Congress.
Ooh.
probably a pretty good match, actually.
It is a tough one. Well, famously, Ronald Reagan worked a lot with Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill.
Yeah, Tip O'Neill was in
and
there.
he's known as the Great Communicator.
Mm-hmm.
Not myself a fan of a lot of what Reagan did, but I do respect that he accomplished what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And working with an opposition Congress to achieve as much as he did is, I think, it's not even that long ago. I mean,
right.
It's about 40 years, but that is something that's anathema today. Like, there's... I mean, the current president, as you're listening to this, has both chambers of Congress and still can't seem to get anything done. So that Reagan was able to achieve what he did with the Democrats in the majority in the House, I think is a testament to the force of personality that was Reagan.
Yeah.
And let's not talk about Iran-Contra.
Yeah.
Also, because it's Reagan, well...
Yeah.
Monroe had the Missouri Compromise, which Congress kind of saddled him with, that he wasn't too thrilled about, but went along with it because that's what Congress decided to do.
Yeah.
He vetoed some internal improvements bills.
Yeah.
I think
His Congress all, pretty solidly the same party as him.
I'm thinking if you were to say, I think this goes to James Monroe, that Reagan would be like, well, I could change that in a hurry, and then he'd smack the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Probably true.
So, I don't know. I think this one would probably...
Go to Reagan.
Deserves some credit for working both sides.
Not forgiving him for the AIDS crisis, mind you, but I will take the cards.
Oh, wow, we're down to our last hand. Oh.
We're down to our final category.
We've got William Howard Taft
versus Andrew Johnson.
And they're going head-to-head in relationship with the media.
Ooh. Andy Johnson just barely squeaking past relationship with Congress there.
Yeah. I don't know that this one helps him much either.
It doesn't, no. Oh, no, it's Andrew Johnson. I'm not winning anything with Andrew Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that Taft had a great relationship with the media, but I think he had a better one.
I think he did have a better one, yeah.
Because Taft had a hard time. Because he comes in as like the chosen successor to TR, who then gets pissed off with him and starts talking shit.
And costs him re-election.
Yeah. In terms of opposition press, when Taft's trying to run for re-election, he's getting it from both sides.
Yeah. Also, the number one joke about William Howard Taft is a result of the media. He never got stuck in a bathtub. They just installed a larger bathtub and took a photograph of two men sitting inside of it.
We've talked about this.
Therefore, the media screwed Taft.
Yeah.
With respect to that, because it's now misremembered as big old fatty got stuck in the tub.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That being said, he wasn't impeached by Congress.
That's true.
Yeah.
He wasn't a very problematic figure at a time when healing the nation was... I mean, I can't come up with a name, a contemporaneous name who I think could have done that job, but Andrew Johnson was certainly not the man to handle Reconstruction. He was not the man to handle reunification after the Civil War.
No,
if he had
the best person,
I mean, if he had the charm of a Reagan or a Kennedy, he might have been able to get the media of the day to help. Yeah. But I think that's an abject failure.
Yeah, he's pretty much polar opposite as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, Taft is probably a better president than a lot of people give him credit for.
Oh, agreed. Very much agreed.
You know, he just had, like, an unfortunate incident with pissing off Teddy Roosevelt.
Yep. Again, talking about charisma, Taft is in the shadow of Roosevelt to the extent that he is reduced to a fat joke instead of looked at more seriously. And, again, talking about post-presidential accomplishments for a second, Taft proved, I think, he knew what he was doing. Like, he was a very capable person. I don't think you can make that argument for Johnson. Johnson had opportunity after opportunity to excel or even accomplish anything. And unless you
finally
really,
gets
really,
reelected
really
to the
like
Senate after a couple
racism and
failures.
hatred,
Yeah.
he wasn't your guy. He wasn't gonna be able to do much. Also, this particular picture, boy, is he the scowliest, ugliest looking guy in the deck of cards.
He's a very stern-looking man in every photograph of him that's extant. I mean, he's an incredibly stern-looking guy.
No,
Yeah.
not tops on my list of presidential hookups.
Yeah, it doesn't look remotely happy about anything.
Well, he's not going to be happy about losing to William
his
Howard
hand to
Taft in
Taft.
his
No,
hand.
he can. That's that.
And that's going to bring us to the card count. $16.
28.
So once again, I find myself on the losing end of presidential war.
You were a fair opponent, but unfortunately, I drew very well. I must commend the random chance of the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did have Washington,
Some of the
Lincoln,
best
FDR,
cards. Yeah,
Polk,
yeah.
Jackson,
Polk, Jackson,
Yeah.
TR.
I think I had both Roosevelts.
You probably had
Which brings me
9
to
of the top 10
a
presidents.
suggestion I'm going to throw out. I was compiling a spreadsheet about the hands for this game, and I thought, an interesting thing would be after you deal the hands out, do the categories in a set order, look at your deck, and then try to pick who you think would be the best person in your hand to win that.
That's an interesting
A little
thing.
bit more like Magic the Gathering. But again, I'm going to throw that out as a potential
I kinda
way to
like
do
that.
this in the future.
That's not a bad idea.
Also, I'm trying to get back as a return guest.
Well, we're not going to fight you on that.
There's not too many people we could coerce to one of our homes. Speaking of which, does anybody know you're here? Sorry, I have to make that joke. I'm obligated to make a, I might be a serial killer joke.
I wish I had this information beforehand. Was that I don't know. That felt like Reagan Carson right there. That was not a
Yeah.
good impression. Well, that's some. That's crazy. I also like the idea that anyone listening to this cares about Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
I can't tell where he is in the zeitgeist anymore. I feel like he has faded from everyone who is, 38 and younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are big on him anymore.
No. Which is crazy considering how big he was. But again, that's the historical perspective for you.
Any Merv Griffin fans out there?
That's right. But it's interesting, I think,
Milton
when you go
Berle.
back to contemporaneous opinions of presidents and then seeing how they plummet and then maybe sometimes resume. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's true of Grant. Grant, in his time, was relatively popular, then took a nosedive, and it's only recently that he's being reappraised.
Yeah, they all gotta go through that. The only one that pretty much just is universally not gonna budge is Buchanan.
Nope.
Well, all the presidents getting reappraised right here on the Dead Presidents Podcast.
That's right. That's what we're all about. And that's gonna bring us to the end of this episode of Presidential War.
Thanks for listening.